said that action without thinking and planning is the cause of every failure. But the flip side of that is that action preceded by thinking and planning is the reason for every great success. Everything we've talked about up to now, preparing yourself mentally to be an excellent time manager, making the decision that that's what you're going to do, setting very clear goals and objectives and organizing them on the basis of priority, and then setting priorities and determining the activities you're going to engage in leads us to planning and organizing your time and your activities so that you can get the most done. And the starting point of time management is what is called the neatness habit. Now, the neatness habit simply says that you can as much as double your productivity by increasing your level of neatness. That neatness means that you clean your workplace so that it is spotless and that all you have in front of you is one specific task when you begin work. In fact, there have been lots of studies done on the subject of neatness, and over again we come back to the fact that neatness gives you self-esteem, it gives you a feeling of personal pride, it makes you look effective, it makes people see you as effective, it improves your self-image, and increases your output. So one of the questions you always want to ask yourself when you look at your workplace is, what kind of a person works at that workplace? If you look in your briefcase, you should ask yourself, what kind of a person owns that briefcase? Look at your car. What kind of a person drives that car? Because the things around you correspond exactly to the state of your mind. You know what we have found is that a cluttered desk equals a cluttered mind. A cluttered desk, a cluttered purse, a cluttered car equals a cluttered mind. So the starting point of planning and organizing is to get really neat. Neatness is the key. It's the core personal productivity habit. Now, sometimes people say, ho, ho, ho. They say, well, I know where everything is. Do you know what we have found? We have found that the person is spending so much of their mental capacity keeping what is lost organized and remembering where everything is that they don't have as much of their mental capacity available to do the work that they're paid for. And if they're productive working in a messy environment, think how much more productive they would be working in a neat environment. Now, here was the second point. Is in a recent study, 50 out of 52 senior executives said they would not promote a person with a messy desk or a messy work environment. They said that they would not even give that person important responsibilities because they would not trust the person to do the job well. In fact, the tendency to work in a messy work environment can actually sabotage your profession because it holds you back from getting the opportunities that you need to be really successful. So, here is a rule. The rule in personal neatness is when you're done, put it away. Whenever you're done with anything, put it away. I have worked with Swiss chefs who've been trained in the Swiss cooking school in Geneva, and one of the things that they do is before they cook, they bring out every single thing that they need, they use it, and they put every single thing away in sequence. When you work, you will find that good craftsmen, really effective and efficient people, do it and they put it away. We say to our children, complete your transactions. Whatever you start, finish and put it away. Our children, by the way, go to a school called Montessori. Montessori builds children so they come out with tremendous levels of self-esteem and self-confidence, and their key is this, is from the age of 3, they have them engage in tasks where they start it, do it, and put it away. Start it and do it and put it away. Now, each time you finish a task and put it away, do you know what you feel like? You feel like a winner. When you feel like a winner, it excites you and enthuses you and wants you to and gets you wanting to do even more. So putting your tasks away is a powerful way to pump up your own self-esteem. The rule is, when you've completed it, do it away. Put it away. Number 4 is whatever task you're working on, handle it only once. Handle it only once. This is one of the most powerful of time management tools. It means if you're going to pick up a piece of paper of any kind, do something with it. If you cannot act on the piece of paper or complete it, at least do something with it which moves it along one stage in the work process. Many studies show that the average executive picks up an important piece of paper as many as 5 times before he or she acts on it. Do you know what that means? It means that you increase the amount of time necessary to deal with a piece of paper by as much as 500% by simply avoiding dealing with it when you pick it up the first time. So here's a very simple, powerful system that's been developed with regard to papers, and it's called the TRAF system. The TRAF system has 4 letters, T-R-A-F. T stands for toss. Put it in the wastebasket. Tossing is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Ask yourself, What would happen if I couldn't find this piece of paper again? Do I really need this piece of paper? Does it need to be filed? Am I going to examine it or read it? Do you know what one of the biggest problems in the American workplace is today? It's called pile-itis. Pile-itis means we keep piling up things that we think that we're going to read or use sometime and we never do. So use your wastebasket generously. Here's your basic rule. When in doubt, toss it out. Now, number 3 is refer. Refer it or delegate it to someone else. If it's not your job, or you can give it to someone else or pass it on to someone else, by all means pass it on to them rather than sitting and thinking about it yourself. Peter Drucker says that the average person has to delegate everything that is possible so that you'll have enough time to do the 1 or 2 things that make a big difference. The third letter is A, is action. Now, if you're going to take action on it, have what is called an action file. An action file is, in my estimation, a red file. I use that. And these are things that you're going to work on, but perhaps you can't work on them now, so you move it along one step by putting it in your action file for work later. And the 4th step is file. Now here's the critical rule. Only 80% of everything that is filed is never used again. It's never called for again, and it's never required again. So again, ask yourself, before you assign that and create work for someone else in filing something, by all means say, am I ever going to need this again? If we're not going to need it again, throw it away. Ask yourself another question. If we really needed this, it was a terrible emergency, could we get it back again? Could we call somebody? Could we pick it up? And if you could, throw it away. 80% of what you file will never be seen again. Now, number 6 in planning and organizing is preparation. Before you begin to work, have everything that you need. Have everything at hand. Again, look upon yourself as a craftsman or a craftswoman, and what you'll find is the very best workers prepare everything. They have their pens, their papers, their calculators, their details, their files. Everything they need is at hand so that they can sit down and they can work without getting up. Your poor workers, by the way, are always having to get up and get something and come back, and get up and get something and come back, and then they get distracted, and then they get diverted, then they do something else, and they get very little done. Remember, there's a one-to-one relationship between what you produce, your outputs, and what you get paid, and how good you feel about yourself. So prepare everything before you begin. Now, the 7th key is have time management tools. Now, there are specific time management tools that everybody needs to have. The first time management tool is what is called a master list. Now, you can create a master list just by buying a spiral notebook. You buy a spiral notebook, and every single thing you can ever think to write, to do, you write down in that spiral notebook, and you keep this as a catch-all system so that when you have other time, you take it out of the master list and you delegate it to specific days. The second thing that you need is a calendar. You need to be able to organize your time. And the third thing you need tied into the calendar and the master list is a daily list. Now, your daily list is actually your blueprint for the day. Your daily list is what tells you what you're going to do from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And your daily list is tied into your goals, to your major priorities, and is what you do your A, B, C, D, E's and your 80-20s on. So a daily list is the foundation or the blueprint for your productivity during the course of the day. Now, here's the rule with regard to the daily list. First of all, never work without a daily list. Second of all, prepare your daily list the night before so that your subconscious can work on it the night before, during the night while you're asleep. Now, the 8th key here is the 45-file system. So you'll never forget anything again. The 45-file system says get yourself 45 hanging files. Hanging files have 31 files, which equal days of the month. They have another 12 files, which equal months of the year, and there is another 2 files, which equal years. This equals a total of 45 files. Then what you do is you have something coming up in a few months. Very simple. You simply stick it into that month. When that month comes, you take it, you divide it up into days. If it's 2 years ahead, you divide it into years, and you'll never forget another task. Now, number 9. Key to success is work nonstop. Once you get started, work nonstop. Put your head down and say, I will work now, and put your head down and keep on working until you get it done. You can set yourself, as we say, little rewards. Give yourself a reward for completing the task. Train yourself like a Pavlovian dog, and avoid the tendency, by the way, to fall into what is called Parkinson's law, where that work expands to fill the time allotted for it. You concentrate on getting the work done in a smaller period of time rather than allowing the work to expand like an accordion to fill the time that you have necessary. Number 10 key to planning and organizing, Remember that planning saves 4 minutes for every 1 minute that you spend in planning. Very often people will say, well, I don't have time to plan. I really don't have the time to plan because I'm so busy. What we have found is that it's very hard to spend more than 10 or 12 minutes a day planning in advance, making out a list, organizing the list by priority, and organizing your workplace. But for every minute that you invest in planning, you'll save 4 in execution. Sometimes you'll save 10 or 20 or 30, but what this means is that you can get a 400% to 500% return on energy, return on your energy invested by planning. Number 11, use a organized filing system. Now here's an interesting point. Many filing systems are so poor that it takes the average executive in the average company 30% of their time looking for lost files. 30% of the time in the average organization is spent looking for misplaced items that have been lost somewhere. So what you need is a filing system, and the simplest of all is an alphabetical, an ABC type of system, where every file is listed alphabetically, and second to that you need a Rolodex. If you're at home, you need the same little system. You can buy a Rolodex in any stationery store, and what this does, it shows you alphabetically where each file is. So therefore, when you create a file, you create a card in your Rolodex that tells you where you can find the file. The basic rule is the rule of 5. It says that you should be able to retrieve any file in your office, any piece of paper, within 5 minutes, or you are suffering from malorganization. Number 12 is what is called prime time. Now, one of the keys to planning and organizing is prime time, and there's 2 types. There's both internal prime time and there's external prime time. Internal prime time is when you are at your best. Organize the most important things that you have to do in the course of a day when you feel the best, usually in the morning. But some people are best in the afternoon, some people are best in the evening. Some people work at the very best first thing in the morning at 5 or 6 a.m. So what is your internal prime time, where you are the most productive? Second of all, ask what is the external prime time. This is where your customers, where your boss, where your staff are most accessible and available. If you're in sales, your external prime time is when you can see your customers. If you are in any particular profession where your customers are accustomed to seeing you at a certain time, this is your external prime time that you need to plan and organize your life around. But see if you can't coordinate both your internal and your external prime time. Number 13 idea is what is called your to-do list. Now, we talked about the daily list, and this is just a slight expansion on it, but what it says is this, is that people who work from lists are 25% more productive than people who do not work from lists. Never do anything without writing it down on your to-do list. If you're going to go shopping, make a list. If you're going to go to the office, make a list. The most productive time managers in America are inveterate list makers. Make it to the point where people make fun of you, but always be working from a to-do list. Never start work, even on your action file or anything else, without making a list first, organizing the list, and starting on the most important item in the list. Number 14 idea is what is called the 30% rule. The 30% rule is always allow yourself 30% more time than you expect for any task. You'll find that very productive people are not people who are in a panic or working very hard. They are people who have allowed themselves enough time to do the job and to do it right. Never plan your appointments back to back, one after another. Estimate how much time it will take you, and then give yourself 30% more. You'll be amazed at how much more productive you are. Number 15, remember this, is that planning reduces stress. One of the greatest problems that we have in the workplace today is stress, and the primary reason is because we feel out of control of our work and out of control of our environment. Remember, the very best way to get yourself into control is to plan and organize your work in advance. The most effective and productive people are those who have the very best plans and are working the plans. And finally, number 18, remember this, practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. That even if you're not a particularly good planner now, planning is a skill that is very simple. It's sort of like a bicycle. Riding a bicycle or typing with a typewriter, you can make the decision if you desire. Remember the 4 Ds. If you really want it, if you make the decision, if you discipline yourself, and if you're determined enough, you can become absolutely excellent at practice, absolutely excellent at planning and organizing, and you can so dramatically increase your productivity and performance that today you cannot even imagine it. Give it a try.